everybody, this is Eliakim coming back with a critically important episode of Shirim by the Sea. Today, we are going to talk about emes, emet, truth. Ooh, I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Sadly, that's basically what the world has morphed into at this point. Sheker, falsehood, lies just have become the norm. We're so immune to it at this point that we can't even really see the truth anymore. And on today's episode, you're going to see how critically important emes is to the world. It's so important that it's actually the seal of Hashem. Meaning if Hashem stamped a document as the King of Kings, the sages say that stamp, the seal of it would be emes. That's how important it is to the world. And it's something, unfortunately, that we are lacking tremendously. The big buzz in the world now is that a very good-looking girl did a jeans ad for American Eagle Jeans, which is actually owned by the Schottenstein family, the very wealthy Schottenstein family. They give a lot of tzedakah, big charitable people. So everyone's now saying, not everyone, the left is now saying that it's racist and it's like a Nazi propaganda ad. When did the world become such a cesspool of sheker, of falsehood, that a good-looking girl doing an advertisement to jeans has blown up into literally, it's like the most important hot-button topic in the world? That's what a terrible world we are living in today. You know, as of a few years ago, fat transgender, with purple hair, these are the people that were on the modeling covers. So at least we can see that the world is starting to get back a little bit to reality. But we're still nowhere near being able to actually sense the truth. And what most people don't understand is your truth does not matter. I mean, if I had a nickel for every time someone told me, well, that's just your truth. And I say, no, that's just the truth. That's just the way that you're interpreting it. No, it's actually what Hashem says in the Torah. So when Hashem says something like don't eat lobster, is that my truth? Or is that how Hashem wants the world to operate as Jews? The only truth that matters is Hashem's truth. And that's unfortunately what, almost every Jew in the world, we're just not understanding. There is one truth in the world. That was the truth of the Torah that Hashem gave to the Jewish people. Any point of getting away from that truth can cause nothing but chaos and problems. And unfortunately, people don't understand. Let me just break down how the world works. I know I do this in every episode, but again, there's always new people. And I view every episode as a pekuach nefesh, as a life and death. There could be someone that's about to watch this episode that is so floundering in life, they're, might even be about to call it quits. They see this episode, something turns them on, and boom, a few years later, they're keeping Shabbos and they're happier than they've ever been. Conversely, someone could be religious and just I'm sick of this. I feel like the grass is greener on the other side. Let me see what's out there. So let me just break down the truth for you, okay? And I say this in every episode, so if you've seen this before, you'll learn something new every time. This cup was created by somebody for a specific purpose. It has a specific size and shape. Got the Red Sox logo on here, different writing. Clearly, no one is dumb enough to think that a plastic factory had an explosion and a cup just appeared. Well, we're a little more important in the crux of the world than just a cup. So Hashem created us with, people always talk about, oh my gosh, AI is just incredible. You should see these new supercomputers. There's no supercomputer in the world like the human brain. We use like a fraction of our true potential with our brain. We were created for a reason and for a purpose. We're all going to live life. We're all going to do some things that are very good and some things that are very bad. At the end of life, when we die, and everyone's going to die that watch this. Sorry to be the spoiler alert. You're going to die, God willing, at 120. You will be judged on certain criteria. That criteria, it doesn't matter if you agree with it or believe in it or think that it's acceptable. That doesn't matter. Again, your truth doesn't matter. Your truth of how you think the world works is totally irrelevant. When you die, you will leave behind your house and your car and your money, everything in this world. You will be buried, just yourself, into the ground, 6 feet under, and then real life starts. The sages say, if you want to quantify life, then this existence is a grain of sand on the beach of the world, the beaches of the world. So take all the sand in the world. This life would be like one little grain of sand. We think this life is so, it's so long, we live forever. We don't. It's God willing, we live to 120. But then real life starts. How you lived in this world is how you will live forever. The ones that put in the effort, the ones that listen to Hashem, the ones that realize Hashem is the truth, we just need to follow it. These people will be rewarded for eternity. They will have a very, very wonderful next world. And that world's eternal. If you think Tisha B'Av is long, oh my God, I can't eat for over 24 hours. Imagine what your eternity is going to be like when you're finally shown the truth that you ignored for your entire life. It's going to be the saddest thing ever. And that's going to be an eternal shame. That's how life works. You live. So what are we judged on? Mitzvahs. That's it. All you take with you, your mitzvahs, the tzedakah money, your prayers, your gemilas chasadim, your good deeds. That's it. You're not taking your new Jaguar. You're not taking your beautiful house in the Hamptons. You're not taking grandma's, brooch that she left you. That's the truth. I know that's very hard for people to understand. And trust me, I've been there. 27 and a half years of my life, I lived thinking, I'm a good Jew because I wear a Jewish star. I love Israel. Every once in a while, I'll sit down, I'll read the whole, Sefer Bereshis in English. And I feel like I'm a nice person. I have an aunt that always tells me, life is about just being a nice person. I said, that's total and utter sheker, because Hitler thought he was a nice person. Stalin thought he was a nice person. She said, well, I just want to be good. I said, well, who defines good? Stalin thought he was good. Hitler thought he was good. The conversation usually ends abruptly because it makes no sense. And I always say, I mean, how do you quantify a brain surgeon? Oh, he thinks he's the best brain surgeon. Well, the last 4 operations, he, stuck a scalpel in someone's head and all 4 of them have died. So this guy, well, I used to be, like the best. No. You're a terrible brain surgeon. You need to get out of the practice of brain surgery. We don't get to quantify what's good or judge what's good. Hashem does. Hashem has a truth that he put into the world. You can either follow it or not follow it. As we say in every episode, Shlomo Melech, King Solomon said, the only thing that we have control over is fearing God and observing his commandments. So let's dive into truth. But before I do, I want to thank my sponsor, my beloved sponsor, Lisa. Lisa has sponsored 43 lectures since I got to America a little over 4 months ago. This is now lecture 35. So I love knowing that I have, I've been doing one a day now for, I believe, like a month. And it's been awesome. I mean, the response from people, I know that people eagerly are looking forward to new lectures. And it makes me feel good, and it makes me know that we're doing important stuff here. And none of this is possible without people sponsoring. Because now I just have time to, literally sit around and just try to find nuclear bombs that I can drop, on these lectures. So this is sponsored for her beloved Uncle Max. He was an accountant. He loved his wife, and Moya, and sons, Andrew and Mark, so much. He always wanted to know about my dreams and goals, Lisa said. When he went in for triple bypass, no one would tell her which hospital he was at. Lisa finally found him. She was davening for him because she loved him so much. She told Lisa, you are my very best friend in the world. I love you so much. When my Uncle Max had another heart attack, I called him to go visit. He said, Lisa, sweetheart, you're my best friend in the whole world. I love you so much. But I want you to remember me the way that I was. I don't want you to see me like this. I told him it didn't matter to me how he looked. I loved him so much, but he refused to let me see him, and we cried on the phone. I understand that. It's not like similar, but we had a dog. It was just my brother and I growing up. We're 6 years apart. And then my parents came into the room one time and said, "What do you guys want more than anything in the world?" And we both started hugging each other and jumping up on his bed. We thought we were getting a dog. And they said, "No, mommy's pregnant with a little girl." And we're like, "Oh, okay, well, we really wanted that dog." Okay, so we ended up getting the dog X amount of years later. It was the only pet we've ever had. And we just loved this dog so much. And at the end, we knew that something was seriously wrong with our dog Bailey. And everyone else went to the hospital, but I wouldn't go. I couldn't see him, just not in that shape. I wanted to remember him, the vibrant. So I understand what the uncle was saying. Okay, what is truth, first of all? Have you ever actually Googled truth, emes? Truth generally refers to the state of being in accordance with fact or reality. Are we in accordance with fact or reality in modern times? No. When 350-pound, purple-haired transgenders are gracing the covers of, modeling magazines, clearly the truth, passed us by a long, long time ago. It's the quality of being true, genuine, and accurate. It can also refer to a proven or verifiable fact or principle. Even math, which is such a truth that was put in this world. Even now, people, I remember this one, she's a professor of color, white people also are, it's like how this word became person of color. Well, white's a color too. Pink is a guy, they're all colors. She said that 2 + 2 = 4 is racist because 2 + 2 in many cases could equal 5. And the news host was like, "Are you serious? You're a professor? You're telling me that 2 + 2 = 5. So we have now sort of crossed the line. If anyone's ever seen the movie Field of Dreams, remember how you couldn't cross that rock line or else you would, go into the game or go out of the game? So we've crossed the line from emes to sheker. Sheker is falsehood. Sheker is the mirror opposite of emes. In Judaism, Hashem's seal is truth, right? It refers to the concept that truth is a fundamental aspect of Hashem represented by the word emes. Okay? It's a core Jewish value emphasizing the importance of honesty, integrity, and living in accordance with Jewish reality. The phrase Chosamo shel Hakadosh Baruch Hu emes, Hashem's seal is truth, originates from the Talmud and signifies that the truth is God's identifying mark, similar to the seal on a document, like I mentioned before. If I know, like really wealthy families, they have a family crest, right? They decorate this crest that's on, on their jackets, on their blazer, all that stuff. Well, if Hashem had a crest, that crest would be truth. There's thousands of beautiful attributes in this world. It doesn't say the davening or even giving tzedakah. Again, all these things are amazing. Truth. Truth is something so precious to Hashem that he would literally, the analogy is he would stamp a document with it. That would be Hashem's crest. So isn't this something? If we know that we're supposed to walk in Hashem's ways, I say this in so many episodes. If we're supposed to walk in Hashem's ways, and Hashem's seal is truth, isn't truth something we should really start focusing on? The Talmud states that the seal of Hashem is emes. This is in Shabbos 55a. This links truth directly to Hashem's identity. And if Hashem created the world, it means that the world was created with truth. It's a divine attribute and a core value in Judaism. Living truthfully is truthfully, is seen as a way to connect with God, while falsehood distances one from the divine. The more one strives for truth in all aspects of life, the closer they become to Hashem. This concept has practical implications, encouraging individuals to be honest in their dealings, avoiding deception, cultivating integrity in their actions and in their speech and behavior. The seal serves as a stamp of authenticity and identification. Hashem is basically saying, I am truth. You need to walk in my ways, ergo walk truthfully. That needs to be the standard. Do we see, what's one place where we're seeing right now? Forget about like the modeling thing. That was just, I saw some 400-pound transgender on like the cover of Chosamo or something on, and that just came to my mind. Because again, that's just sheker. That's not beautiful. That's not something that we should be encouraging our children. Yeah, be 400 pounds with purple hair and transgender. Let's just desecrate Hashem in every possible way. Definitely something to strive for. How about what's going on in Gaza? Have you seen the marketplaces in Gaza? Because I have. I've seen the videos of like Gazans bragging, look at our marketplaces, and we're still getting more food being airdropped in. There's no one starving in Gaza. Even after videos of them admitting that they're faking the videos, people like the New York Times are still running the stories with these like fake, kids. A lot of them have other diseases, and that's why they're thin. And when it comes to the Jewish people, there is no length of sheker, of falsehood, of deception that people will go to make us look bad, to try to destroy us. The stuff that I'm seeing, and the sad part is that we still feel as Jews that there's something we can do other than the only thing that Hashem says that we can do. The world hates us. The world is always going to hate us for many different reasons. That is just a fact of creation. That is the truth. To have all these organizations trying to combat anti-Semitism, not only does it not help, it actually hurts. It makes them hate us even more. Hashem uses the world as a mirror how we are currently functioning. So when we see just this bizarre, like nothing we can do could be, like, if we do 2 + 2 and it's, the world will say it's, 7.2. Why? Because this is how we are acting vis-a-vis Hashem. We are acting terribly. We are acting with sheker. We are acting with deception. We're acting with falsehood. We're not engaging in the reality of the world that Hashem created for the Jewish people. And it comes back to us with this just bizarre, obvious, blatant sheker. The New York Times knew that this story was false. They ran it anyway. Why? Okay, a week later, we'll do an apology. Stick it on page 62. That's what they do. Sheker. But it's always directed against the Jewish people. There literally was a genocide a few weeks ago in Syria. They just came and massacred the Druze. D-R-U-Z-E, the Druze. Nothing. Not one drop from the world. It was not even mentioned. They only hate the Jewish people. Why? And the more bizarre you're starting to see the stories and the videos and the news segments out there, the more outlandish they are, it's the more outlandish our behavior is, and Hashem is like mirroring it with the punishment of this just bizarre anti-Semitism. Emes. Just take the word itself. I might do a whole series one time. I'm actually going to probably work on this, because I'm going to be up, God willing, in New York for a month for all the Chagim. I think I'm going to work on a whole series of the letters and numbers. Because if you only knew this about Judaism, you would see that it's a divine language. When you see different words always have the same corresponding gematria, every letter has a corresponding number. They all add up the same, like wine and secret. are the same. Sod and yayin both equal 70. Why? Wine comes in, secrets come out. They're all connected. How do you spell emes? Okay, it's very interesting. Aleph, mem, sav, tav. The first letter in the alphabet, the middle letter in the alphabet, and the last letter in the alphabet. Isn't that interesting? And you'll say, what are you talking about? There's 22 letters, and mem is the 13th letter. It's not. It's the 14th letter. Because we also have 5 final letters, right? So we have Aleph through Yud, that's 10, right? Because Yud is Gematria 10, Aleph is 1. So that's 10. Then we have Chaf and final Chaf. Okay, so that's 11 and 12, and then Lamed. Okay, so there's 13 letters before the Mem. And then we have Mem, which is 14. Then we have final Mem, Nun, final Nun, Samach, Ayin, Pei, final Pei, Tzadi, final Tzadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Taf. Another 13. So we have 13, then Mem, they rise up, then there's Mem, then it goes down. And Saf, Taf. So you have literally letter number 1, the middle letter, and the last letter. Isn't that interesting? What else do we know about these letters? You know what? I'll hold it up so you can see. Do you see these letters right here? Okay. Well, let me see. Here's Aleph right there. You see how it has 2 bases? Okay, it's on 2 bases. Where's Mem? Okay, here's Mem. Do you see Mem also has 2 bases? And then Tuf here also has 2 bases. What do you notice about the word sheker? Sheker is Shin, Kuf, Resh. See how they all have 1 base? They're wobbly. Okay? What's emes? It's stability. It's the first, the middle, the last. Like when I see my son building his blocks, and I tell him, put something on each edge and then in the middle, keep it stable. Emes is stable. It's dependability. It's reliability. You can count on emes, right? What's sheker? It's wobbly. It's like a drunk, walking home at night. Ooh. That's sheker. I just heard a great thing that if you've never told a lie before, you don't have to remember anything, basically. You could have amnesia. Life is bliss when you don't have to, oh wait, okay, I told her I was going to be there this afternoon. When you're living a web of lies, which I did, my drug years were just excuses and lies and deception. I had to keep so many, that's why learning Gemara is fun for me, because, you have so many different scenarios, but I live this in my life, just, lying to this person, and then I would actually tell the truth to this person, and they had to keep them straight. But yeah, I told her I was with, my friend last week, and then you get it mixed up with another, and then all of a sudden it's that's why it's called a web of lies, right? You see a spider spinning a web. It's one beautiful strand, and then all of a sudden it can catch a big animal in it. That's what life is when you're living a life of sheker. It's wobbly. It's unstable. What else do we know about sheker? Sheker is the third to last letter, second to last letter, and first to last letter, right? And they're close together. They're all right next to each other. The shin, the resh, and the kuf, they're all right next to each other. Why? In Jewish tradition, the word sheker, shin, kuf, resh, means falsehood or lie. It's often discussed in relation with the word emes, truth. The letters of these words are used to illustrate the concept of truth and falsehood. The letters of sheker, shin, kuf, resh, are all depicted as having 1 leg, while the letters emes, aleph, mem, saf, are portrayed as having solid, stable bases, according to the Talmud. The letters of sheker are found close to each other, while the letters of emes are as far away as they can get. The first, the middle, and the last. This is interpreted to mean that falsehood is readily available. It's close. It's connected. Readily available. But truth requires effort to find. Even just the way the letters look, I'm definitely going to do something on the letters. We'll do a whole, maybe I'll do one on each letter. Do a whole 22 part series on this, because I did this once. I researched the letters and like saw different words that add up. You can see Hashem here. I mean, again, nothing's accidental. So the way that Hashem, tells us what the words are, tells you everything. Again, emes, just dependable, solid, sturdy. Call Moshe. He's so dependable. You need a plumber. Yeah, you gotta call Yonatan. He'll tell you what you need, what you don't need. He's honest. Emes also goes. Each emes and sheker have subcategories, right? Dependable, integrity, honesty. These are all things in the realm of truth. Okay. How do we know we're not supposed to lie? I mean, it should be common sense, but the Torah actually tells us not to lie. Where? Shemos 23:7. Stay far away from a lie. There's nothing else in the Torah that we are told to stay far away from. Unlike the other mitzvahs in the Torah, we are told just to not do something. When it comes to lying, we are enjoined to stay far away from an untruth. Presumably, this is because man's natural inclination is to lie. As David HaMelech says in Tehillim, all men are liars. Stay far away from a lie. Yeah, I mean, we're not supposed to murder, but it doesn't say stay very far away from murder. A lie. Stay far away from a lie. Why? Because the lie distances you from Hashem, like we said before. If Hashem is truth, and we're supposed to walk in Hashem's ways, and every mitzvah that we do brings us closer to Hashem, which makes sense. I mean, you have a friend. Your friend's dependable. They're reliable. You get closer. Your bond becomes closer and closer to the point where some friends are just like brothers. So if a lie is like the complete antithesis of God, then we're enjoined to stay very, very far away from this lie. And describing the prohibition of lying, the Torah warns us, midvar sheker tirchak, stay far away from a lie. The Torah wasn't satisfied with simply saying avoid falsehood. Like avoid eating bugs, avoid eating blood. No, it said stay very far away from this. Just as you would warn your friend to stay far away from, a bomb. What's the first thing they do when there's, like in Israel, when they find a package, on the road? They tell people, get very far away. You don't want this exploding in your face. Chas v'shalom. Why are we told to stay very far away? Because once you start lying, it becomes the most destructive habit of your life. Trust me, I know this. Juggling lies is very stressful. I mean, it literally takes years off the life when you're constantly, and then how about the people that actually there's people that literally write down their lies. And then someone finds that, and then they realize, oh my God, this guy's been lying to me for the past. Why is falsehood so destructive? On the most basic level, lying is destructive because it can ruin someone's reputation, cause harm, and literally destroy lives. Another way that falsehood can be destructive is when we make things up instead of having to admit that we don't know. I mean, sometimes people message me and they ask me, can I do this in Judaism? And I say, I don't know. Let me ask my rabbi. Let me look it up for you. Imagine if I said, I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, you can do that. And then I find out, oh my gosh, you can't do that. I am now responsible for that person's sin. And then what if the sin snowballs into I'm responsible for every single bad thing? Just like I tell you, sponsor a lecture, you get the mitzvah for every single person that's ever going to watch this lecture. And anything that changes in their Judaism because of that lecture, you get the benefit for. Conversely, you tell someone, yeah, you could drive to shul on Shabbos. I mean, literally the most, if if there was a model, like a poster child, speaking of models today, for the biggest lie in Judaism, the biggest sheker in Judaism, it would be that you can drive to shul on Shabbos, because unequivocally you cannot do that. It is a punishment in the Torah worse than murder. So how about all the rabbis that say, yeah, don't worry, you can drive to shul? Murder. They are now accomplices to something worse than murder. That's not truthful. That's not halacha. That's not emes. That's not something Hashem ever gave a dispensation for. You're now on the hook. You're now on the hook. The second we crossed over the Jordan and we came to the land of Israel, we then became responsible for other people's sins as well. Before that, we were only responsible for our own sins. The second we crossed the Jordan as the Jewish people and came into the land, from that time until the end of times, we are responsible for everyone's averos. If we weren't, then why were the biggest, most holiest rabbis shot in a ditch next to, the George Soroses and Ehud Baraks and of their time? Even when a lie seems innocuous, it can still cause harm in a more subtle way by just diminishing someone's trust in you. We have to become people that love truth, right? And the Lithuanian city of Kelm, home to the famed yeshiva devoted to Musar, so ethical, morality, the Jews were very careful that everything they said was 100% true. When they were asked what time it is, they would answer with the exact time, 7:36, instead of the approximate time, 7:30. Even though the person asking probably didn't care what exact minute it was, the Jews of Kelm wanted to strengthen their love of emes, making sure that their words were always 100% accurate. The famous rabbi, Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, not Rav Chaim Kanievsky, Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, from Europe, came to America. His son is now probably the biggest rabbi in America. Someone asked Rav Yaakov one time what his merit was for escaping the Holocaust. He said, nothing untruthful has ever come out of my mouth. So my rabbi and I had this discussion because the other rabbi said, it was the Satmar Rebbe, what his schus for escaping the Holocaust was he never laid down to sleep in his life. He never went to bed from the time he was, in yeshiva. He would pass out at a desk learning Torah or something like that. So I said to my rabbi, which one do you think is more difficult? He said, not telling the truth. Not ever saying anything that's false. I said, I think not sleeping is the... So then I asked my rabbi where his sefer was, and he said to me, it's in the living room on the bookshelf. So I came back and I said, Rabbi, I didn't see it there. I said, oh, I think it's over here. So I said, Rabbi, did you just say something that was not... you didn't lie, clearly. But Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky didn't say, I never said a lie. He said, nothing untruthful ever left my mouth. That's a whole other level. So I said, Rabbi, technically, you said something untruthful. He said, yeah. Now clearly you can understand why I said that this is the harder thing to do. To not say something untruthful. Not saying a lie is to not say something untruthful. To have nothing that was not the truth ever, emanated from his mouth. That you can tell why he was on such a high level. The Torah says, distance yourself from falsehood. This is the only sin regarding the Torah that we're warned to distance ourselves. In telling the truth, we emulate our Creator, regarding whom it says that the seal of God is truth. The Sefer Chassidim writes that one who speaks only truth can actually change their destiny by decreeing something to happen, and it will happen. This is evident from the Talmud, that being careful to only speak the truth is a segula. It's a propitious activity that allows one to actually complete the years that God allotted to him. The Talmud says there are four groups of people that Hashem detests, that do not merit to greet the divine presence, the Shekhinah. One of them is liars. The punishment is measure for measure. Through lying, they demonstrate that they sought to find favor in the eyes of man and ignored the presence of Hashem. It's like the example I gave before. Who gets punished more, a robber or a thief? A thief slinks in at night and steals something, right? A robber just brazenly, give me all your money. The thief is punished more. Why? Because he slinks in. He's afraid of people seeing him, but he's not afraid of Hashem seeing him. The robber doesn't care about God or people. The thief is actually punished more. Why? Because he holds man on a higher level than people. By lying, by telling untruths, you're distancing Hashem from yourself. You don't have merit to be in Hashem's presence. There are 9 categories of shakranim, it's called. 9 categories in this. I said there's 4 things that Hashem detests. You cannot be in His divine presence. One of them is shakranim, people that are liars. Okay? Here's the 9 examples. One who lies in order to steal from others, thereby transgressing the prohibition of lo sigzol and lo soneh. One who lies in order to present himself as someone's friend, so that at some point in the future, he'll be able to swindle him. One who lies in order to receive some future benefit that he would not have received otherwise. One who lies even though he causes no harm, simply because he's accustomed to lying, or because he does not clarify the facts before he repeats them. One who acts towards others differently than the way he feels inside, even though he does not openly lie. We're going to talk about that later. One who promises to give something or do something for his friend and does not fulfill his promise. If he offers his friend something small or easy, even if he does not make that promise to give it to him, he has now broken his word. He is now a liar. He is someone who is distancing himself from truth instead of distancing himself from falsehood. One who tells others about the way he helped someone else when he really did not help them. One who praises himself or accepts praise for good traits that he does not possess. A person who occasionally lies regarding issues that in no way affect others, but because he merely derives benefit, such as attention, from his lies. The Talmud also says that there are 3 types of people that Hashem despises. One of them is those that say one thing while having something completely different in their heart. Despite the above, we find in certain circumstances that it's permitted or even commendable to lie. The reason for this is that the biblical commandment against lying includes a lie that will be harmful for someone else. As the verse states, distance yourselves from words of falsehood. And then after that, do not kill an innocent righteous man, meaning the two are connected. Meaning it's forbidden to lie in a way that might cause death or harm to any person. But we see that there are cases, and we're going to talk about some famous ones, where it seems that the truth was broken, yet it was a commendable thing to do. What's a great example of this? Aaron, the high priest, right? What does it say about Aaron? Aaron was a Ohev Shalom, Rodef Shalom. He loved peace, and he would pursue peace. Like he was fanatical about peace. And he had a very unique method. And you'll listen to this and you'll say, can you just give the whole part of the lecture about sheker and falsehood and deception? But then what did I say? Sometimes it's even permissible or even commendable. So what did Aaron Cohen do? Aaron would employ a method to make peace between quarreling spouses and friends. He would approach one party and tell that party that the other party was really sorry and wanted to reconcile. When the person would hear this, he would express an interest in resolving the dispute. Aaron would then go to the other party and do the same exact thing. Meaning, let's say I had a fight with Moshe. Aaron would come up to us and say, Eliakim, Moshe really feels bad. He wants to, make up with you. What do you say about that? And I'd say, yeah, I feel bad too. I would definitely be up for reconciliation. Then you go to Moshe. Moshe, just talk to Eliakim. He really feels bad. He's really sorry. He really wants to put this in the past. What do you say, Moshe? You up for reconciliation? Yeah, you could tell Eliakim. Then the next time we see what happened, hugs. Is that the truth? Did I want to reconcile with Moshe? No. He's probably fuming at him for something. Did Moshe want to reconcile with me? No. What did Aaron do? He lied. He lied. Yeah, we call him an Ohev Shalom, Rodev Shalom. This was such a commendable trait for Aaron. And Hashem was very pleased. The Rif says that it's actually a mitzvah to lie in order to maintain or to bring or to establish or to keep the peace. Okay. What are a few other examples of this where you can, a little bit of a lie? A few examples. Changing the truth in order to practice humility. For example, one may claim ignorance of a certain Torah topic, even if he actually does know it. Changing the truth in order to maintain modesty. We're going to talk about this later. Changing the truth in order to protect someone else from harm or from inconvenience. For example, if a host was very gracious and one is asked about this, one should not tell him about all the magnanimity, as this will then cause so many guests to flock to him. In a similar vein, if a person has an incurable illness and informing him of this will be detrimental to his health, it might be proper to withhold this information. This happens a lot in the medical field. Someone's towards the end, they're not feeling good. I mean, do you need to tell them, dude, you're going to die in a month? I mean, that could cause very serious damage to him. A white lie said in order to protect someone from embarrassment. An example of this might be to say that a bride is beautiful and gracious, even if she isn't particularly beautiful. This is in the Talmud. Let's see. Using exaggerated expressions. If it's clear, it's an exaggeration. You look white as a sheet. Some circumstances under which it's allowed to be deceptive in order to recoup losses that are owed to him. Our patriarch Yaakov employed this method to protect his lawfully earned gains by being defrauded by Lavan. Okay. There's a famous story in the Talmud that we need to glean something very powerful from. And when you hear me say the story, you'll understand these rabbis never appear in any other places, neither does this city. Okay, so what exactly is this story trying to teach us? Rava said, I used to think that at first there was no truth in the world. There's no emes in the world. I mean, if he's saying this about, times in the past when people actually had a moral compass and were modest and, surely more righteous than this generation. Imagine what Rava would say about this generation when, 400-pound transgender, purple-haired freaks are gracing the cover of beauty magazines, and this is what we're supposed to, teach the next generation is beautiful. Rava says, I used to think that at first there was no truth in the world. But then one of the rabbis said to me, and Rav Tavut was his name, others say it was Rav Tavyomi was his name, that even if he were given all the treasures of the world, he would not tell a lie. He related the following story. One time he came to the place, and that place was Kushta, and they would not tell a lie, and no one from there ever died before their time. This is in Sanhedrin 97a. That pure truth is most rare is already indicated right from the start of our story. Rav Talmud, or Rav Tavyomi, it seems like no one knew his true name. Appears nowhere else in the Talmud. He visited what seems like an almost mythical place, the city named Kushta. No other record of this place exists. Kushta comes from the Aramaic word truth. Is always, and we always mean spoken, in Kushta. So Rav Tavut, or Rav Tavyumi, would seem to be a perfect candidate for residence in this place. A man would never tell a lie, whose very name means good, or perhaps good every day. Tavut means good. Tavyomi means good every day. He should find a kindred spirit in the city of Kushta. He then goes there. He marries one of their women. And then he has 2 sons. One day his wife was sitting and washing her hair when a neighbor came and knocked on the door. The neighbor asked where the wife was, thinking it would not be proper to tell her that she was sitting and washing her hair. That's immodest. He said to her, she is not here. Subsequently, his 2 sons died. The people of the town came to him and said, what is this? No one died before their time. Man has 2 sons. They died straight away. They knew something's up. He related to them the story. We beg you, leave our town and do not incite death against us, they said. The people of Kushta were people who could not tolerate a lie under any circumstance, like Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky. The near impossibility of maintaining such a standard required constant vigilance, as one slip-up could set the town back for many years. They had a zero-tolerance policy for any mistruth, regardless of reason. Those incapable of such a standard, i.e. everybody else, should stay away, as consequences for not living up to the standard are most severe. The Maharal of Prague says, in a nutshell, he explains that the story of Kushta is allegorical and intended to highlight that truth endures while falsehood does not. Truth represents spiritual perfection, shalom, right? Which is why the town's inhabitants never died prematurely. Yet while modesty did not trump truth in the story of Kushta, we see that in other cases, competing values did sanction deceit for the sake of peace. How about a few of these examples? Okay. We'll do these in order. So just let me get my... All right. We're in Bereshis now. One of the angels said, I will surely return to you at this time next year. As you are now alive, so you'll be alive and well then. But Sarah, your wife, will have a son on that day. Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent behind him. Now Avram and Sarah were already old, getting on in years. Sarah ceased having her woman's cycle. She laughed at herself, saying, now that I am withered, will my skin become smooth? Besides, my husband is too old to sire a child. Hashem got angry at the lack of emunah. Sarah laughed at two things. One, I'm 90. I'm not having kids. I don't even have my period anymore. And she also says, if you think I'm old, look at my husband. He's 10 years older than me. What does Hashem say to Abraham? And this is something that's so mind-blowing. Hashem says to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say, will I really give birth even though I'm old? What did Hashem conveniently leave out? She didn't just say, I'm old. She said, Abraham is old too. But Hashem didn't say that to her. Hashem said, why did Sarah, your wife, laugh? And say, will I really give birth because I'm old, meaning Sarah? He didn't mention that Abraham also was called old. Why? To keep the peace. But then we just learned that if this was in Kushta, you can't do this in Kushta. They basically lived on the level of like midas hadin, right? Perfection. We're not on that level. So there are times where, and I listed a few, you see a bride. Okay, the woman's clearly not attractive. Do you tell her, what is he marrying you for? Good grief, you look awful. No, you tell her, you look stunning today. Stunning. Actually, that reminds me of a good story. So, if you watch my lectures, you know that we used to have a baby furniture store in Atlanta, right? And even before I became religious, I also have like an intolerance for sheker. Like I can't stand sheker. Even though I was lying to everybody else, like in my life it was fine, but for other people. So my employees would understand that if somebody came in and I complimented their baby on the outfit, that they knew that I thought the baby was very ugly. So all my friends in Israel know this about me. So now I have to now the secret's out. So I basically always have to say that, oh my God, the baby's so cute. Because now everybody knows what my code word is when I don't think a baby is cute. And we were just looking through baby pictures the other day, my mom and I was I was an adorable kid. I had beautiful blonde hair. My dad took me to a modeling agency, but then I got too shy. I had a bowl cut. I was a really, from age 2 and up, but I was a really ugly baby because I didn't have hair. And I looked at it the other day and I haven't seen my baby pictures in so long. And I said to my mom, I was a really ugly baby. And she said, yeah, you actually really were. She said, okay, but you don't tell someone that their baby's ugly, right? I mean, in Kushta you do, but we don't live in Kushta. There's times where you need to finesse the truth. Hashem did it! So clearly it's something admirable. If we're supposed to walk in Hashem's ways, what's like an area of truth? Sensitivity, right? Is telling someone that they're overweight going to be a nice thing to do? Sometimes you need to tell them this because you see that they're going to kill themselves at some point. But is telling a girl that she just gained 15 pounds, is that something necessary? No. Honey, do I look fat in this dress? That's like the age-old, you got a shotgun to your head, if you answer that question incorrectly. Hashem says to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh? She said, will I really give birth even though I'm old? He totally leaves out the fact that she also said something negative about Abraham. The sages teach that the seal of Hashem is truth, and we're commanded to distance ourselves from falsehood. Yet it's permissible to lie for the sake of peace. Yevamos 65. This is derived from the episode in the Torah where the angels informed Abraham and Sarah that they would be granted a child. Sarah laughed incredulously. How could a couple so old be granted a child? Hashem was displeased with Sarah's laughter, and he confronted Abraham, saying, why did Sarah say, can it be true that I'll give birth this old? In fact, like we said, Sarah also said, my husband's old. As Rashi states, Hashem altered the truth for the sake of peace. For Abraham may have felt hurt that his wife referred to him as old. From this we see the incredible importance the Torah attaches to maintaining peace within the Jewish people. What is Jerusalem? Yerushalayim, Shalem, peace, wholeness. All the tribes get together. It's just, can you imagine that scene when everyone's getting along? It's magical. Imagine going out with friends when you're all best friends. There's no, do you see what stupid outfit that, Yonatan's wearing? No, you're all just, that's life. And Hashem saw even a little sliver. I mean, would Avram really have gotten old? Probably not, but that's how, dedicated to sensitivity that Hashem is. From this we see the incredible importance the Torah attaches to maintaining peace within the Jewish people, whether among friends, family, or communities. It's instructing us that we can alter the truth for the sake of peace. Hashem is not asking us to transgress. Truth from the Torah's perspective is more than just words. The Maharal explains that the Torah's perspective of animosity is a form of falsehood. This attitude is expressed by the sages' term for animosity, sinas chinam, baseless hatred. We just had the 9 days a few days ago. Why was the second temple destroyed? Baseless hatred. Peace itself is a form of truth, and strife is a form of falsehood. When we speak with the goal of avoiding strife, we are thereby preserving truth and rejecting falsehood. How about another one? All three of those are from Bereshis. Yaakov says to his father, right? Yitzhak says, I'm about to die. He says to Esav, go fetch me food so that I can bless you. And Rivka overhears this and says, my twin son is very wicked. He's not a vessel for blessing. So she tells Yaakov to basically deceive his father. And Yaakov's terrified. This is an ish tam. He's the embodiment of emes. Emes liYaakov. It even says about him, emes liYaakov. Titain emes liYaakov. You've given truth to Yaakov. He's the embodiment of truth. Now he has to do something a little improper. He has to dress up as a brother and go in and pretend that he's Esav and get the bracha. Imagine the tall task that this was for Yaakov Avinu, who's the embodiment of Kedusha, of holiness, of sanctity. He goes into his father and he says, I am Esav, your firstborn. I have done as you have spoken to me. Please rise, sit down and eat of my game so that your soul will bless me. Yaakov goes in and he says, I am Esav, your firstborn. I have done as you've spoken to me. Was Yaakov the firstborn? No. Was he Esav? No. What does Rashi say that he says? Rashi says he broke the statement up so that he wasn't telling a lie. The illusion that he was giving is, he basically said, I am Esav's your firstborn. It's a very famous Rashi, very interesting Rashi. Okay. Even if in this speech he didn't tell a lie, is deception not falsehood? I mean, when you deceive something, is that truthful? No. Of the three avos, Yaakov is most closely associated with the midah of truth. And Parshas Toldos, Yaakov is described as an ish tam, which Rashi explains to mean an honest individual. Ela kelibo ken piv mi she'eno charif laramos karoi tam. Titain emes liYaakov, you've given truth to Yaakov. In Parshas Toldos, we see Yaakov acting with apparent deceit when he presents himself to Yitzchak as Esav. Perhaps more glaringly, Yitzchak asks, who are you, my son? And Yaakov says, it is I, Esav, your firstborn. To be sure, Rashi interprets Yaakov's response as technically truthful by splitting Yaakov's words, like I said, into two statements. I am Yaakov's your Esav's your firstborn. It is I am, and Esav's your firstborn. So that there would be no falsehood. But Rashi's interpretation seems forced. And other commentators disagree with this and explain that Yaakov deceived Yitzchak, albeit to achieve a just result. Can you deceive to achieve a just result? According to Rivka, you can. Yaakov played his part to deceive to get a just result. Was Esav, meritorious enough to get these brachas? No. So what happened? Deception. Deception for what seems like a good cause. Now here's a great one. How about the brothers and Yosef? The brothers hated Yosef. I mean, clearly they sold him with zero remorse. They couldn't stand their brother. Israel, meaning Yaakov, remember he's called Israel and Yaakov. Israel loved Yosef more than any of his other sons because he was the son of his old age. That's never made sense to me because isn't Binyamin younger than Yosef? So, I mean, if he loved Yosef because he's the son of his old age, then he should doubly love Binyamin because, he was even older when Binyamin was born. But I digress. Because Israel loved Yosef more than any of his other sons because he was the son of his old age. Israel made him a robe of fine wool. His brothers saw that their father loved him more than all of his brothers, so they hated him and could not speak with him peaceably. They could not speak with him peaceably. From what is written, that clearly looks like it's to their discredit, Rashi says otherwise. Rashi says, no, this is a praise. They could not speak one way with their mouth while they felt differently in their heart, like something that I mentioned earlier, something that Hashem hates. You think something in your heart while you're saying something differently. They were not engaged in faking and flattery. What's so damaging about flattery? Well, there's a king named Agrippa. He was of Hasmonean descent, but he was also appointed by Rome. So he shouldn't have been our king, right? Our kings are, not appointed by Rome. Also, his father wasn't Jewish. Okay? So he had nothing going for him that he could have been our king. So there's something called the Heichel. The Heichel ceremony. When the king would read the Torah once every, I believe, 7 years. During one ceremony, King Agrippa read the Torah portion dealing with the prohibition against having a non-Israelite as king. This is in Devarim 17:5. He reportedly wept, recognizing the irony of his situation and his position. You got the whole Jewish people, they're at the Temple Mount, and they're listening to the king read the Torah. I believe it happens once every 7 years, but I might be wrong. No, you know what? It happens once every 7 years. King Agrippa doesn't have a Jewish father, appointed by Rome. I mean, both of those disqualify him for being king. And he starts weeping. What do the Jewish people say to him? And it says that this was the start of the destruction of the temple. And instead of recognizing the gravity of the situation and perhaps even repenting, the people reassured him and they said to him, "Fear not, Agrippa, you are our brother." We see this a lot in the Jewish world, specifically in the religious world. You have lots of yeshivas that have, students with very wealthy parents. And the yeshiva balances. Is this student good for the other students? Is he causing a problem? It's becoming a burden on the yeshiva. The yeshiva would function much better if the student was not continuing to learn here. There's a million other yeshivas he could go to. But the administration, they say, this father just gave a $3 million donation for the new Moskowitz wing that's going to be, the most super neato learning experience in Jerusalem. So what happens? The truth gets blurred, does it not? Does reality not get blurred? Clearly, Agrippa was not the king. He should not have been the king. Even Agrippa himself recognized this. Instead of recognizing the gravity that you have a king that has zero halachic ability to be your king, you flatter him. Fear not, Agrippa, you are our brother. This seemingly positive reaction was interpreted by the rabbis as a sign of the people's spiritual decline. The rabbis argued that the people's flattery of the king, even in the face of this apparent remorse over a Torah prohibition, indicated a true lack of understanding and fear of Hashem. It showed that they had become overly attached to him and had lost their ability to distinguish between right and wrong, especially when it comes to matters of leadership and national identity. This lack of discernment, according to the rabbis, spelled the end of the independence and their eventual destruction by said Romans. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Is there anything in your life right now that you are living a lie? That you are, if you looked in the mirror, do you think that you're 100% truthful with your behavior, your thoughts, your actions, your speech, and more importantly, just the reality of how you are living? Because again, truth is reality. We've said before, falsehood is a non-realistic world. Truth is 2 + 2 = 4. Falsehood, sheker, is, these idiot professors now saying that 2 + 2 = 4 is racist, and it could equal 6 if you wanted to. That's, when you start to see things like this becoming more prevalent, it is a byproduct of a very ill society. This is what the rabbis were saying about something seemingly they wanted to cheer up their king. Okay, but the king shouldn't have been the king. And the king knew this, hence his weeping. You don't flatter. Flattery is falsehood. Again, I would basically say that, you got out a piece of paper, right? And you put emes and sheker on the top. You put truth and falsehood on the top. You could probably list, just off the top of your head, things that fall into each category. These would be like, the heads, the categories. There's lots of subcategories in here. Truth is integrity, dependability, reliable. It's such a positive. Who in your life would you want to be with or interact with that did not have this character trait, that embodies everything that Hashem stands for? Who wants a plumber that's going to intentionally break a pipe or say you need a part when you don't? Where do we see this the most? Auto mechanics, right? The famous Seinfeld line. Oh, you need a new Johnson rod. Oh, yeah, Johnson rod. We see this so much in business. At our family business, we strive to always tell the truth to our customers. I had someone one time that drove from 5 hours away from Arkansas. They drove from Arkansas to Atlanta to work with me. Because she had a friend from, somewhere that was closer that said, you have to work with him. He will just tell you exactly what he will not. I never told someone you need something. It was just disgusting to me. In my own life, I was lying to everyone left and right with drugs but with business, telling someone you needed something just so we could make a few hundred extra bucks was like, it was a disgusting trait. And it had an impact because I think 11 years in a row, we won the customer service award for what's good customer service. When you go to a place and you're getting good customer service, what are you getting? Well, I walked into a place the other day to buy some food, and the person said to me, welcome back. That's amazing customer service. He also, would say, yeah, this one we just got in. Because I said, how are people liking this? He said, to be honest, we just got it in. I mean, he could have said, everyone loves it. Yeah, man, this is like item number 1. Put 10 in your bag. He said, to be honest, we just got it in. We're waiting to see people's. That's a place I'll go to again and again and again. Reliability. You go to a mechanic. Your car's broken. I mean, most people don't have any clue what car parts cut. This is something foreign to us. There's some businesses that, you can really get taken to the cleaners. Plumbing is one of them. Your toilet's clogged up. Guy could come and tell you anything. Oh yeah, I got to rip out the wall because of, there's something in the thing. Oh, my brother-in-law does, he'll come and he'll knock down the wall. All of a sudden he's got 8 of his brothers and cousins and they're just, pretty soon your house just totally torn apart. For what? Something he could have fixed in 2 seconds? Maybe it wasn't broken at all? Or maybe he broke himself. This happens all the time. And it's disgusting to Hashem. What does Hashem hate? Shakranim. He hates sheker. So if you know Hashem hates something, wouldn't the opposite be what he loves? And if we know with such clarity the degree of love that Hashem puts in the truth, yet you can bend the truth for peace, well, then we have a new part of the puzzle. Think of how amazing peace is to Hashem. Do we need to make peace with the traitors in our midst? No. And that's where people go wrong. People think now you can do anything for peace. And where does this open up a whole can of worms? The people of Kushta lived on the highest level, that truth could not be bent, even something that seemed for a good reason, for a modest reason. But the people of Kushta, and again, the Maharal says that this is just an allegory, they lived in a world where there wasn't bending for truth, there wasn't bending for peace, because they lived on such a high level of truth that they had everything. We're not on that level. There is something higher than truth, and that's peace. But that opens up a big can of worms. People are always saying, oh, I lied, but it was for the sake of peace, It's like when the conservative movement started allowing people to drive, it was that they could drive to shul on Shabbos. And then look what. The people whose grandparents, 60 years ago started driving to shul, well, they're now driving to Vegas on Shabbos with their, Christian wife and 5 non-Jewish kids. So what I get from the story of Kushta is Kushta was a place where everybody was on such a high level that there was no need to bend. That's another thing I feel like this story is telling us. That there was no need to lie for the sake of peace or, what do you think weddings were like in that town? Do you think that the bride's pretty? No. And no one would get upset. Everyone was on that high level, but we're not the people of Kushta. We're not on this level. But again, it opens up very slippery slopes because people are always saying, I'll tell a little white lie, and then all of a sudden the floodgates open, and then boom, within a few, short period of time, you're a shakran, right? You're a shakranim, something that Hashem hates. It's a very, very, very fine line. And that's why we like to have rabbinic guidance. If you're thinking that maybe you're able to tell a little white lie, why don't you ask someone that's qualified to tell you, no, that's not one of the cases where you can do this. That's why we have guidance. First year med students, when they don't know how to operate correctly, they don't just wing it. You're not supposed to just wing life. You're supposed to know that every action you make is the correct one. Are you not? I mean, I wouldn't want to go work for a company where I only knew 90% of what was expected of me and only felt like I was 90% sure that every action I'm making within this company is correct. If Hashem himself told basically a little white lie, then clearly it is something necessary sometimes. When are those times? That's for you to decide. But my advice is maybe decide that with someone qualified. We are living in a world of just the stuff that we're seeing in the world now is unprecedented in world history. You can literally see a video of a certain situation that is such clear cut, and you will see two sides with very differing, interpretations. They always say, there's my version, there's your version, then there's the truth. Well, I only like that for one thing, because my truth and your truth, I'm sure, are different, and neither one of our truths matter. I hope you can understand that. Hashem created the world. He created you with a purpose. We have a Torah. That is the blueprint for the world. That is the company policy. If your boss tells you the number one attribute of this company, the seal of this company, is coming on time, you would think that most of the people, if not all, would understand that is the crux that we should be doing. But then what if the boss said, the seal of this company is timeliness. I want everyone here on time, unless it's because you're bringing me cookies. So then what do we see? We see that coming on time is not as important as the bringing of the cookies. But then what do we see? Guy comes in 3 minutes late, goes to the boss. Boss, I'm so sorry. I was going to be here on time. The line at, Mrs. Fields' cookies was a little bit longer. Here's your cookies. Then another guy comes in 3 hours later, also brings the boss cookies. The boss said, where were you? Boss, I was getting you cookies. Doesn't take 3 hours to get cookies. What's the allusion to this? Hashem's seal is truth. Yet Hashem himself bent the truth for peace. So clearly, cookies better than, clearly for Hashem, peace is more important. But again, the people of Kushta were on a high level. They did not want to bend anything. They were on the Midas Hadin level, where even bending something was still sheker. It still vacillated into the realm of sheker. And even though Hashem did it himself, they just didn't do it. They all agreed to live on a level of just straight sheker. A Jew comes, Rav Tavyumi, or Rav Tavot. He comes. He tells a little white lie for a good reason. Modesty. You don't want to say, yeah, my wife's naked back there. She just got out of the shower. He said she's not here. Seemingly a good thing. Yet the people on this high level kicked him out. There are people in this world that have such a yearning for truth that they cannot bend. They're like the people of Kushta. Most of us are not on this level. If a bride asks you, how do I look today? Not many of us have the wherewithal to say, not as good as you did in high school. I don't think any of us would be able to say that. But then what happens, and this is something you have to understand, when people see that there's an out for anything, like you're like in a fenced-in backyard, and then you see that there's a little gate, right? And you're told, do not go out of this gate unless it's for this specific reason, just to, pick this crop every June 10th every year. All of a sudden, that gate looks larger and larger and larger and more appealing, and pretty soon you're in and out of that gate every day. Striving for truth is something that we all need to do. We need to walk in Hashem's ways, and Hashem is the truth. But clearly we see in this lecture that even the greatest of our avos, and even Hashem himself, bent the truth or used deception for the good. None of us are on the level that we can make these big decisions in our life. Yeah, a woman comes up to you and asks, how do you think the bride looks? Most people say, beautiful. Maybe you're on the level of the people of Kushta and you say, I don't like her dress, I don't like whatever. But these are things you don't need to say. Find people in your life that are qualified to help you with these decisions, because Hashem himself opened up a very slippery slope in the Torah. And a lot of people, you hear this all the time. Hashem himself even said, a mistruth. And what happens? Mitzvahs, gereris mitzvahs. Like mitzvahs lead to more mitzvahs. But sheker, we're supposed to distance ourselves. We're supposed to stay far away from it. Yes, there might be times where we need to come close to it, but it's still like putting your hand on a burning stove. And you come close to it often and often enough, and eventually you're going to get burned, and then severely burned. And then you just become immune to it, and it doesn't burn you anymore. And then you become a shakran, one of the four people that Hashem detests and does not merit to be in the presence of the Shekhinah. We're living in a world of sheker. That is clear. We see this every day with the Jewish people, with Israel. Lies, deception, falsehood, manipulations have just become the norm. But it doesn't mean that you have to go along. Everyone else is doing it is not how we were put into this world as Jews. It starts being truthful with your thoughts, being truthful with your own identity, your value, with your speech. If you ever listen to these big holy rabbis speak, they're very deliberate. Nothing leaves their mouth, like Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky. Not one thing ever leaves their mouth without deliberate thought. Why? Because every word itself has the ability to give a life, save a life, or destroy a life. We need to focus on emes, on stability, on dependability, on being a rock, on being someone with a good reputation. These are all things in the realm of truth. And it's something that Hashem loves so much that it's literally his stamp. It's his seal. But after hearing this, you need to take one additional thing from this, which is the value and the importance of peace. Not fake slogans like, biyachad nenetzach. Like, let's all unite. Because this slogan was started by people that want the Jewish people to slink down to the lowest common denominator, where just the Sodom and Gomorrah of Tel Aviv just becomes the norm and the land of Israel. We have a few weeks till Rosh Hashanah. We're in, about 6.5 weeks left till Rosh Hashanah. everyone, I'm begging you. The time to act is now. The time to, you see what's going on in the world. You see that things are becoming a little more heightened and intensified. It's because we're close to the end. I do not want to see people miss the train, and it's going to be an eternal shame. The Jewish people have flourished for thousands of years for only one reason only, and that is our Torah. That is the truth. That is what we're going to be judged on. When you leave this world, you'll be judged on how you acted vis-a-vis the Torah in relation to Hashem. That is the truth of the world. The people that want to live however they want to, go out on Saturdays, and go to the beach and drive to the beach and do all these other things, play golf, whatever it is. That is not living in a realistic world. That is, you're vacillating back and forth from a truthful world to a world of sheker. Torah observance is the reality of this world. It is literally the embodiment of truth. Hashem created us for a specific purpose. We have a specific function. We have a specific goal and a specific destiny, singularly and also as a nation. And if every single person can start understanding that the path of righteousness is a path of truth, you'll think twice. The next time someone asks you what time it is, say 10:42. The next time someone calls and you don't want to talk to him, don't say to your son, tell him I'm not here. Tell him, because you become immune to it. You become immune to these little lies. And little lies, they become big lies. And all of a sudden, lives are destroyed. And then what happens from sheker? A lack of peace, right? We talked about that before. You need to get in the habit of just living a life of truth. And it's not your truth. It's Hashem's truth. And it all starts first with opening up the Torah and seeing exactly what Hashem wants from the Jewish people. Wishing everybody a wonderful, wonderful day.